Oh, Boom Boom's card's getting ratty. Look at that. It's about ready to fall off. You got to find another one of those. Jeff Schrum
gotta be in a case. That's valuable.
Jeff Schrum is the not really director of this fine program. Kyle Ratosa is the producer. Greg St. Martin on video. John McConnell. I saw Johnny Mack in the hallway. Didn't get a chance to talk to him. I'll be seeing a lot of John because he travels with us. Corey Griffin on audio. Buck and Curry in here on cameras. Curry is back from his whirlwind tour through northeastern.
Is McConnell married
Europe.
yet?
Is he engaged?
Bruce Williams, the engineer. Justin Moltzer, online coordinator. El Capitan, Rich Patterson. Speaking of Mr. Mom, he was back there a while ago. Is Sam still there? Oh, he is. All right. So Sam's in there, too. Rich is back there doing his
He's doing his homework.
Sam's back watching movies, probably inappropriate movies because Mom is not here, which is always a fun thing. When she's gone, you can turn anything on. So anyway, nice job, Rich, back in Studio C, and Sam, who have things well under control. Mike Barrett, Mike Rice back with Joe Freeman from the Oregonian. We were talking about the roster and kind of going through what happened over the summer. You know, when you look at the playoffs, and I guess this is always the question, Myers Leonard and C.J. McCollum were fantastic in that Memphis series. Now, you know, when you talk about, you know, the thing I always get asked about people when the people come up and they're kind of hand-wringing, and I get it, but you lost in 5 with the group you had, and that's why I'm okay. I love what's happened, and I think the team, and you mentioned this last segment, about Damian and kind of strapping your wagon to him. I love that fact, and the fact that you saw in the playoffs what CJ and Myers could give you given the opportunity. They got the opportunity, and they're going to get a whole lot more. And they're not the only guys who had good playoff series. Al-Farouq Aminu did as well. Mm-hmm. We've seen him play this summer. Can those things carry over? I mean, and it wasn't like those guys weren't on the scouting report, especially in Game 5 when they both had good games and really were the reason in those games Portland was as competitive as they were. So what do you expect, I guess, is my question, from these guys? If not early, then as the season progresses from Myers, CJ, and a guy like Al-Farouq Aminu, who Blazer fans don't know that much about yet.
And that's A. B.
Oh, I see.
Wait. You got something to write?
No, it's all part of it. Myers Leonard, he's talking about he wants to be a leader. Is he ready to do all that along with Lillard? We know Lillard will be a leader, but Myers Leonard says, I'm right there next to him. I'm leading. Should he just play?
Yeah, you kind of need to establish yourself as a legitimate rotation player before you blossom into a leader. But, I mean, that's Myers. He's always enthusiastic. Yeah. He's always gung-ho about I mean, he's married to this franchise. He is. I don't know if there's a player who is more excited about the start of the season than him. Going back to pre-draft workouts, when you guys were bringing guys in for the draft prep, he was there every day, working out twice a day sometimes. And so
he's working out twice a day now.
Right.
Yeah, still is.
Well, he's got to work off all that honeymoon weight he put on, right?
He was working out over there. Just follow him on Twitter.
Oh, was he?
He's going up and down the steps of the Basilica. He's crazy, man, in Europe. So, no, I talked to him yesterday. I know he is so fired up, and as you mentioned, but
getting back to your question,
a lot of guys like that. But yes, before
I'm
a B was tacked onto it.
Yeah, well, are we at C and D now?
The leadership was a little too much to take.
Oh, not for me, man. I love to hear guys who.
Well, you'd rather them want to be a leader than not be, right?
No,
right.
I've seen too many bad leaders, guys that are six-man and they say, I'm a leader.
Yeah.
I'm
puffing their chests around. Yeah.
I
guess sort of the way I can answer your question, MB, is that I'm not going to be measuring this season necessarily in wins and losses. I think this season is all about identifying the young players who are going to pop, who are going to be the guys that are going to be a part of this franchise moving forward, who are going to be the backbone, who are going to be the next group of Wesley Matthews, Nick Batum, L.A. That you've got Damian, no question. I think the Blazers got a steal with Mason Plumlee. I thought that was a fantastic trade that they got. They gave up a young guy who wasn't going to be a part of what they were doing for a legitimate starting center that is young, that is athletic and promising. Is he a guy who's going to fit into the mold? You feel like CJ and Myers are ready to take that next step. Then you got, again, Aminu, and you've got, I'd have to pull up the roster on.
Well, Gerald Henderson's a guy we haven't talked about. And you talk about steals. You know, Henderson was the guy that immediately popped out as we take a look at Plumlee's athleticism, which is obvious, slam dunk guy. But Henderson, the name popped up, but Noah Vonleh, you want to talk about steals.
That's.
I mean, Vonleh just turned 20. We saw him in the summer league, and again, you can't measure a lot from that. But you talk about a guy that could pop, and a lot of people thought would, and that's why he was discussed so thoroughly in his pre-draft workouts. And a guy who was projected to go top 5, he goes 9. They clearly wanted to get a lottery pick for Nick Batum in this draft.
Right.
Well, they couldn't, so they did the next best thing, and they got one from the previous year. And a guy who is really young, who didn't have a lot going. And I talked to people in Charlotte. They did not want to give him up.
They liked him, yeah. And when you look and you say that, Summer League, like we talked about with Nick and Bayless earlier, you can't really gauge it or take too much out of it. But he was way better than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
I went in thinking he was a lot more raw than he showed or than I expected and was a much larger project. But I came away way more impressed than I thought I would be. I knew he could shoot. He played point guard in high school for a stretch, so I knew he could handle. You see how big he is. You see how big his hands are. How he's got huge legs. And he's got this foundation for being a beast with all that athleticism, and you're just like, oh, okay, I get it. And now you have to see how well is he at picking up Stott's system, and how well does he fit into what they want to do. And
again, he just turned 20.
Right.
That's the thing you have to remember.
Yeah.
Is he a power forward? Can he be?
I think he is a power forward.
Because he can play a lot of positions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it may be not a typical back-to-the-basket guy. And that's one thing about style of play that we'll talk about. I think 26% of the offense of the shots went through LaMarcus. And you talk about a team that was wanting to play one way, but you have to slow down to play it in the post. And clearly you had to do that. This team has the potential, though, to play a much more exciting style.
I think. Well, first of all, they were already a beautiful team to watch with the ball movement and the shooting and everything. It's going to be a different kind of excitement now. I think you're going to see a much more faster-paced offense. A lot of different guys shooting at different points. A lot more alley-oops. A lot more instead of picking and popping, picking and diving, picking and rolling with Myers and with Plumlee, and I think you do that with Vonleh and.
I just wonder if the Blazers have enough time to do all this. The running comes from defense, and when you have a week to put together,
that's a good point. Yeah,
I just think,
but enough time for what though? Because we just talked about you're not going to measure the season in wins and losses anyway.
Right.
Everybody will. They'll look at what the Blazers were last year. You're not, because you understand this change. But the fans are used to Aldridge, Nick, and they're going to be measuring this group now.
But I also think that the fans, I mean, we're talking about a pretty smart fan base here. They see that 4 or 5 starters are gone. They see that 10 of 15 guys are gone.
But what will replace that? See, that's what I'm saying. They have 1 week to put all this together.
But 1 week before what?
Well,
before the season starts in the West.
Right. Well, wait. I dispute your one week because you're talking about preseason. Now they have the whole month of October to build up. A and B.
Did you look at the preseason schedule?
They're going to be in.
You have exactly 4 practice days.
But the games are spread out. They're the 5th, the 8th, the 10th, the 12th. Then you have your last game is the 22nd. But I'm just saying.
Do you know how difficult
why the sense
it is?
But why the sense of urgency?
Well, but it's not urgency. It's the West. You're playing every night a powerhouse. Every night you play a powerhouse.
Right. Well, two quick things. First of all, the guys are going to be in there in September. They're going to be working out. They have for years, and they'll continue to do that. I think you're going to see a lot of molding in during that time. And B, they're not going to be measured against those teams in wins and losses because they're not going to be winning those games. We're looking at a 30-win team here, so I think fans are going to gauge it in a similar way of growth.
And I hope they do. And I'm sure if you see improvement day in and day out, everything will be fine. But you've got a lot of pieces, chemistry to put together for this Blazer team.
We should do it again next week. We'll pick this conversation.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Next week we're off for Labor Day. Joe, thank you as always. Joe Freeman from the Oregonian. Alex Kennedy as well joined us earlier in the program. And Tyler Howell was talking about ticket sales. Thanks for joining us, watching and listening, fans. Trailblazers Courtside back in 2 weeks.